Hey team, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. It's been a while since I've made a video, but I have tons of content I want to create, and I'm gonna use this new burst of energy I have in July to really, sorry, Sandy's drinking water, to really create a bunch of content that's really helpful for everybody, because I keep getting feedback on some of the videos I've made, especially about the Akashic Records, saying how helpful it's been, and I really want to just keep creating content in that sense. So the subject I really want to talk about, we've done a podcast episode on this, so I'll make sure to link that below, is why you're not connecting to the Akashic Records. Because there are many reasons why you might not be connecting. And this is for you opening your own Akashic Records. I'm not going to go into the whole you opening somebody else's, because that's a whole different ball game. But I'm really starting from the self, from opening your own, and from finding the messages flow and feeling like you're connected to the Akashic Records and to yourself. So in this video, I'm going to go into a few different things that might be holding you back from connecting to the Akashic Records. So I'm going to make myself some coffee. I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you guys exactly what kind of was my issue with the Akashic Records and what I see with a lot of the students that we have. So I'll even link some of our courses below in case you're interested. I'm gonna go get myself some coffee and I'll be right back with all of the tips and all of kind of the details of why you might not be connecting to your Akashic Records. So number one would be your ego. And I put that at the top because I think that's probably what held me back the most from connecting to my Akashic Records. It was my ego, and it was this idea of like what expectations I had, like what was it like to be a reader, and what would that look like, and what it should look like for other people. So I was constantly comparing myself to others and how they were channeling and how easy it was for them, and why wasn't it easy for me, and why am I not receiving anything. So the ego can really hold us back from fully opening up to that experience of channeling, receiving information, and healing. Also, we have to think that the ego many times doesn't want us to heal. It wants us to stay in these patterns and in these ideas and this way of living, because if we do go into more of a going into the Akashic Records, for example, it's a lot about seeing your shadow. It's a lot about receiving information and changing things and realizing that you have to piece things together to understand them and to understand yourself. And the ego really just wants to keep you in this comfort zone and keep you in this area and this energy of just like, let's just stay where we are. Let's not do anything new. Let's just continue the way we are because we're safe and we're okay. So the idea here is that we're creating a change when we're connecting to the Akashic Records, and we're receiving information for our higher good. And there's no ego in the Akashic Records. There is no place for the ego in the Akashic Records. So when we go into it with our ego, with expectations, with worries, with fear, and with all of these ideas that we have around what the Akashic Records are and what they're gonna signify for us, and then we're already blocking ourselves from receiving. So it's really just flowing and realizing that it is going to become what it needs to become in your life, and you just have to be open to that. So the ego to me is the number one, and we see this time and time again in all of the courses that we teach, be it, you know, our Udemy course or our Zoom courses. It's quite fascinating, and I can personally say from my experience, it was not easy to move away from the ego, because I was so much in my head and so much in my thoughts and so much in what people expected of me and what I expected of myself and how I was comparing myself to others, that it took me a long time to really feel connected to the Akashic Records. With that being said, I guess my number one advice with this specific issue would be to really, when you open up your Akashic Records, to not expect anything. Completely going into it with no expectations, with this kind of curiosity and enthusiasm to really find yourself and heal things, to not overthink it, because I think a lot of us overthink it. I overthought it. It's like, oh wow, I'm not writing enough words, or things aren't coming through the way I thought they would, and then all of a sudden you're in your head and you're not allowing yourself to flow. That would be my number one advice. See where you're at in that sense and figure that out and work through that. Number two is trust, which also I kind of would consider it like letting go and not having this firm grasp on expectations and things and how you want things to look. So this kind of goes with the ego a little bit, but trusting is going more into this energy of just flowing and realizing that there's a process to everything, but also there needs to be a flow, because this isn't like learning the Akashic Records is learning a new skill. Of course it is. And it's like learning a new language. That's how I like to compare it. You can't expect yourself to figure it all out in one day or a week or 2 weeks. Maybe some of you can, but I don't think that's generally the case for most people. So it's this idea of like, I'm just going to trust the process. I'm going to trust myself through this. I might not understand how it works right now, but nonetheless, I've got this. Like, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to trust fully that the universe, my masters, my guides have my back. And the more I trust in them during this process, the more I'm going to connect, the more I'm going to receive information for my higher good, and the more I'm going to heal. Trust is a difficult one, but it's one that I also had to learn. You know, it was pretty hard because I didn't trust myself or my emotions or my feelings, and I was always looking for external validation. So with this, you can't do that. You have to really look inside of yourself and trust and know that, first of all, that you do have the power to connect. We all have the power to connect to our Akashic Records. I truly 100% believe that, and I see it in all the people that we teach. We might be holding ourselves back, that's all. And you have to just believe and trust that, and trust you are a soul incarnated in this world, and that you can find that information. We all have access to that information, and that's going to ultimately help us heal. But there might be things that, like our ego, that might not want us to heal because it's not going into our comfort zone. That's going out of our comfort zone. That means we're going to need to change, and things will need to change in our life, and that's really scary. So that fear might kick in, and there's other little mechanisms and subconscious things that might be there too. So what I would say with trust is just kind of the same thing as I was saying in point 1 with the ego. It's letting go, trusting, and just knowing that you're gonna figure it out as time goes by, and that you won't have it all figured out from the way beginning. And if you do, great, amazing, congratulations. If you don't, that's okay too. I didn't. It took me literally years to connect. And I wasn't ready, I think, at that point when I first started, which was a long time ago. But a few years ago, all of a sudden I was like, I'm ready. I feel it. I need this tool in my life. So also be really honest with yourself and know if it's right for you. Is it something that you really want to do, or is it something because you saw somebody else do it so you want to do it? So I think there's that aspect of it of, is this right for me right now? And if it's not, then maybe you put it aside for a little bit until you work through some things in your life. And when you're ready, you're ready. It'll be there. And then you can start your practice then. Number 3 is creating space. So I think this is a huge one, and this is where also rituals would come in. And we teach this in our Zoom course, where you need to create kind of like a ritual before you connect. So it's like you're already preparing your energy and you're preparing yourself, and all of those little things you do before you actually say the opening verse will help you already know your body, your soul, everything's going to know that you're going into connection because of all these steps. So these are steps that you're going to repeat time and time again, because not only they're going to create stability, they're going to create the ego to calm down because you're in that comfort zone, but also it's, I know when I do these things that I'm ready to connect. So that might look like, you know, getting your favorite crystals. There's certain crystals that you can use to help connect you. That might mean, you know, grabbing a cup of tea and lighting a candle and having a little space in your home where you sit, and you know that every time you sit there you're going to connect. And I have that. I have my desk, I sit there, I have my verse where I know where I'm always going to find it in the same place. I have my little breath work, my meditation. Those are all good things that you can add in there. And maybe you turn the lights down, I don't know, maybe you put on some music. I personally don't like to put music on in the background when I'm channeling or when I'm receiving information. It kind of distracts me, but I would maybe during meditation or breath work. That really does help me. It's creating a space, a safe space, physical, emotional, that really help you not only get into the vibration of knowing you're going to connect to the Akashic Records, but also it kind of moves away the ego, and it allows you to just calm your energy, get grounded, because part of that ritual needs to be about grounding, either through the crystals, the meditation, the breath work, and knowing that all of that is preparing you for what you're going to do, which is open your Akashic Records. So I would urge everybody just to create a little ritual. It could be 5-10 minutes. We really recommend meditation. I think that's a really good way to start. And having your own dedicated space. Some people have little altars. Creating not only the energy around the space that you're using, but you know, like when you sit in that one spot, let's say you have like a little corner in your house, you're sitting in that corner, you already know when you sit there, your energy changes, you're feeling different. So that already right away changes your energy and helps you when you're going to go into your opening verse for the Akashic Records. Number 4 is meditation and breath work. And I know I just mentioned this within the rituals, but I want to actually make this a separate point because I think it's so important and it can be so life-changing. because a lot of us, we need to realize that maybe you've come home from work, maybe you're like helping the kids do something, or you're cooking dinner, and you feel maybe a little bit kind of stressed. So all of a sudden you're like, all right, let me just sit down and open my Akashic Records. And it's like, it doesn't really work that way. You need to get into this grounded, calm energy, because if you're stressed, upset, feeling all these emotions, more than likely you're not going to be able to connect. And it's not your fault. It's just you're not in that energy to connect. And when we connect, our soul, our masters, our guides want us to be in this grounded energy so that we can receive more fully. So really it's about you grounding your energy. And for a lot of people that is meditation, and for a lot it is breath work. So one breathwork technique that I would suggest, meditation could be anything really. It's, do you want to do a guided meditation? Do you want to just sit with some music? Do you want to do more mindfulness and just realize those thoughts that are in your head and move them away and keep centering yourself back? And you could do that. I mean, you can start even before that with breath work, because breath work will really set the tone for the meditation. So you could do like 5 minutes of breath work. You can do like equal ratio breathing. So that's it's always through your nose, right? So you're inhaling for 5 counts. So holding at the top for 5 counts, exhaling through the nose for 5 counts, and then holding at the bottom for 5 counts. That's one round, so you could do a few rounds of that just to really ground your energy and feel more present. And that really kicks in your parasympathetic system, so it really calms your body, it calms your nervous system, and then that helps you get into a more meditative state. And then after your maybe 5-10 minutes of meditation, then you're like, okay, I'm ready to connect. And you'll feel so different. And this literally can make the difference of you having a good reading, feeling really connected, and you being able to write a bunch of stuff, or even just feeling the energy of the Akashic Records. It seems like not a very important or big point, but it is. And it can be huge and can make a huge difference in your connection. So I would definitely encourage you guys to try that. The method you're using. So there's different teachers, there's different verses, there's different opening and closing verses. Does the verse that you're using to open and close the Akashic Records, does that really resonate with you? Does that really make you feel connected when you open it? And you don't necessarily have to feel physical things, but opening your Akashic Records and really putting your hands on your heart and asking, are my Akashic Records open? Do I feel connected? And if you're getting a yes, great. Well, I've found that there's a few students that have come our way, and even myself, there's certain verses that resonate more with me than others. And I really honor that. And I really try to make sure that I don't use a method or a verse that doesn't really resonate with me. It's just not going to work for me. And it's energetic, right? And I truly feel that there's so many teachers in this world. There's a reason for that. We're not all called to the same teachers. And we really have to honor that and respect that within ourselves, and know that whoever we're called to as a teacher, as a mentor, as a guide, they're all there for a reason. And we need to follow our intuition with who we need to go to. Part of all of this is you figuring out what feels right for you. So that there's many methods. The method that I always used, and I still use to this day, is writing down. So I open my records, I ask questions. So you have to obviously ask questions. There's free will, and that's part of your free will, to ask those questions. And then you're going to write down what's coming through. Handwriting, I like to type sometimes because I like to channel stuff from my Instagram. Ultimately, that was what we were taught with my sister, and this was many years ago. The energy now is very different, right? So some people need to close their eyes so they can grab like maybe their telephone and they put their voice note on, or voice recorder, sorry, and they start recording what they're getting because they're getting visions and they're very visual. Or the moment they open their eyes, they're distracted with everything that's going on around them, which they might be in a very calm space, but just opening their eyes makes them feel disconnected. So that's one thing, like one tip right there. And just figuring out what that's like. Maybe you need to go out for a walk, and as you're walking, you're receiving messages and you can record them on your phone. Don't get stuck on one idea. I think figuring out where you are in your journey and figuring out how you channel is such an important part of all this. So the method you're using, and I'm sure there are maybe many more methods than the ones I just mentioned now. Figure those out. Try them all. Don't stick with one thing that doesn't seem to be working. Like, give it a chance, of course. But if it's not working, it's not working. And try something different. And follow your intuition with that and what feels right. Practice and consistency. I think this probably should be at the top, maybe. but I put it here. I think there's something to be said about practice, and we all know like habits and us doing things every day makes us better. If I put my mind to going to the gym every day and working out, and I know I'm gonna do a routine, I'm very consistent with it, I know what I'm gonna do when I get in, and I am getting enough rest, and there's a bunch of little factors, right? I'm gonna make changes in my life. It's gonna become a habit. It's gonna become something normal to me. But right now, when we start to reopen our own Akashic Records, it's not normal. It's not something we've been doing up till this point in our life. If you listening right now, this is something new, realize this is a new muscle that you need to work out. And the more you practice and the more consistent you are with it, the more you're gonna connect, the more you're gonna receive. And it's a relationship you're forming with your guides, your masters, and your beings of light, your soul. It's something new. So the more that you can practice it without that expectation, without the ego, creating that method that really works for you, the more likely you are to be this clear channel that receives the information that you need to heal. And ultimately, that's why we're connecting, right? We want to heal. We want to understand ourselves more. We want to receive so that we can shed light on those shadows inside of ourselves. That's why we're doing it. And that's also, I think, like, figure out why you're trying to connect. Like, are you doing it just because everybody else is doing it? Is it a calling you're getting that you know you need to open up to your Akashic Records because it's something that's going to ultimately benefit you? You know that deep down inside, and you're trying to honor that. Nothing's going to hold you back. Your intention is going to be everything. So I would even say before you're reading, put in the intention. You know, I like to always put my intention when I open others, but when I open my own too. My intention to open up today is to receive the information for my higher good and to heal and to understand myself and to understand my purpose and my path more. That's why I connect. Understand that and put that intention into it every time. You can even make that part of your ritual. So doing it every day for a certain amount of time is really going to make that difference of you being this clear channel and having that relationship with your guide, your masters, those beings of light, your soul. It's going to be like night and day. Really realize that and really understand that, because that's gonna make or break that connection a lot of times. Connecting to my own Akashic Records was not easy, and I'm sure I'm gonna do a whole video about it on my journey with the Akashic Records. I think it'd be really beneficial to some of you. And I've talked about this on the podcast. I'll link that podcast episode as well to this video. But I think realizing that it is a journey and it's not about you getting from point A to point B. This is something that you're cultivating and you're creating ultimately for the rest of your life. This is something a tool you'll have in your tool belt for the rest of your life. That's amazing. And that's something that we need to just slow down and not try to hurry things up and realize that there is no rush here. It's a practice. It's like meditation. We don't become great at meditation doing it 1 week or 2 weeks or a month. You're going to be doing it the rest of your life, and it's going to benefit you and bring you joy, and it's going to bring you balance and grounding, and it's going to help connect you to yourself in such a deep way that this is part of the journey. Accept that, realize that, move that ego out of the way, and trust that you do have the power to connect. I think a lot of us, our self-esteem is holding us back. And that was my case. I know that, and I know that for a fact, and I prove that through everything that I've been through. Work on that self-esteem, work on those affirmations, work on knowing that you are deserving of opening your own Akashic Records, receiving your information, and healing. So I'm going to leave this video here, and I really do hope that some of these tips helped you maybe realize some of the struggles that you're having with connecting to your Akashic Records, but also realizing that we all have the power to connect. We have to believe it deeply inside of ourselves and put in the work. It's not going to just happen overnight. For some of you, of course it will, but for most of us it won't. And I think the more we can come to terms with that and realize that it's in our power to change things, it's in our power to connect. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really supports my channel. And make sure you subscribe, because I have a bunch of videos coming out in July. I'm really excited to kind of just help through these videos. I'm going to try to do some breathwork stuff as well, because I really feel like I need to share that with you all. So I love you all, and I will chat to you really soon.